Hello, YouTube. How are you? I am Helen Sattler, your Destiny Helper, coming to you once again, answering your questions. And you have a powerful one today. The question of the day is why do older narcissists pursue younger women? Usually that is common, believe it or not, in most men. They want something younger, but you got to remember the narcissists utilize a lot of fuel and need a lot of fuel. And because the narcissist relationship is a connectivity and mirroring until they need younger energy, they need an illegal transference. The illegal transference is when you get an older person and they take and zap the younger energy until they make a transfer. If they're tired, you become more tired. And if you're youthful, they become more youthful. They start to look younger, you start to look older, they start to be more aggressive, more invigorating, and you just start to just look like you just diminish. We call these illegal transference, and with life there are transference. And because the narcissist has an inability to love and don't want to love and could care less about your emotions other than how it suits them, then they really need a lot of energy. And the energy you give them is in the realm of your emotion, in your soul, your thought. They need all of that. And they pursue a younger man, a younger woman, because they're energetic. They are filled with ideas. They are filled with so much life. And the narcissists, because they're empty and void and they are unable to love, and so they only mirror what they think is love, they only mirror what they think is happening, they only mirror what they think is joy. So they spend enough time, like I said before, in relationships, until these relationships, the reaction of when they do something to someone teaches them what is going to be the repercussion if I do this. So they actually do a transaction with your life. So when you are with the narcissist, you are transacting business 24/7, because it's not about the emotions, it is with you, but it's about fuel that is with them. And really, when you get with a narcissist, the moment of devaluation starts the moment you meet them, because they cannot handle your humanity. And that's why I did a teaching on the new supply, temporarily perfect, because for the first time, well, each time the narcissists get the new supply, they feel alive. Everything is perfect, everything is good, and they go back to where they want to be, where everything is good. That void feeling leaves, and they feel alive, and they this new supply make them feel like they're wanted. The grandiosity is tremendous. And usually when they give that new supply the love and the care, and new supply transact business. How? By telling them how wonderful they are, how they love them, and how what they're giving them, they never had it, and how they're the best, and they can feel that love. And when they and their time, that the new supply want to spend all their time with them, they're willing to give up family, they're willing to give up friends, they're willing to run from their business hour. All their lunchtime is spent with the narcissist. Then after they get off from work, after they leave school, so everything become about that narcissist, where the narcissist is going through so many relationships, and so there's triangling all the time, and they have so many relationship, because most narcissists are not faithful. If they want something, they go after it. Doesn't matter if it's your best friend, your mom, or the grandmother. If they yield and they want it, the narcissists feel that they should have it. And it takes energy. Every new supply take a lot of energy. And that's why they triangling, because they need other source of energy for where they're expending energy by idolizing you. And so usually, think about it, if you're an older narcissist, you already insecure, filled with fear, all of these voids that you have and emptiness. So when you get with somebody young, they make you feel vibrant. They make you feel alive. A young person wanted somebody older and being happy with them so they feel alive with them. And so that narcissists love every moment of it until their humanity show and they go through everything that everyone else go through. And the new supply, even though they have their own personality, and the narcissists curtail the mirroring to them because you have to mirror them and who they are. That's why when the narcissists leave and come back, they're not the same because they've triangulated so many other people that have different personalities, different character. And so having these different characters, they come back different. Well, when you got young people, and you can tell when the narcissist has been with someone young, because I mean they got gray, they get the gray out. If they are housebound, they usually go out. They become more innovative. They become more active. They become aggressively active. They start going to the gym, and you may see them. They may buy a new car just from the new supply, a new car. They may dress differently. Never rode a bike, but the new supply is that type person. So now they go and get a bike because they need energy. And young folks, the one thing they have is energy, 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 energy for days. And the narcissists need that. And so a lot of times they go after the young. And the reason they go after the youngs too is they are very impressionable. They're easy to control. They're easy to apprehend because the young person, they give themselves over quickly a lot of times to emotions. And if you got a narcissist who's very skilled, very experienced, done dealt with older men and older women, and then they got this young person, can you imagine the devastation that this young person is going to go through with this older narcissist because they open themselves up? Oh my God, I don't even want to imagine it. They open themselves up, and then the narcissists idolize them until they display their humanity and unknowingly cause a narcissistic injury. Then it all began. They're young, they're impressionable, and they're easy to crush. And they crush them mercilessly. I mean, no mercy whatsoever. And when they are devalued, it's very painful. A lot of young people, I've dealt with a lot of young people, they lost their minds. They lost it behind the narcissist. Some of them, thank God we were able to catch some of them on the verge of suicide behind a narcissist. Excuse me. Because they're young. And when they give their emotions, some people, when they give their emotion, they see the narcissist will love bomb you to get all of you. They don't stop until they think they got all of you, because they know in the devaluation and the finally, the discard, you will crash because you built so much up in them. You're hoping for so much. I mean, you feel like you've actually met the love of your life. And these young people, they're young. They shouldn't even think about settling down. They're in school. They're getting their careers off. They're educating themselves. And life has so much for them. They should not be, how can I say, pinned down or locked down when life is calling for them. Their career is calling for them. Well, the young people, they don't think of that. They don't think of that when that narcissist. When you're with that narcissist and the love bombing, they just think of the narcissist. Everything becomes about them. And if you got this young girl that's with this older guy, she's telling all of her friends, so she's talking. And the more you talk about him, the more you're locking them in your mind. This young boy got this woman, and she's an older woman, more skilled. He's talking about her. thinking about them, this is the rip zone. We call that the rip zone because that young person is getting ready to have their heart like it's going to rip out of their chest because the pain is excruciating and the narcissists need the fuel. That fuel will sustain them. The greater the pain, the greater the fuel. The greater the fuel, the longer they can be sustained unless they use the fuel up. And a lot of narcissists have so many new supply in line until they regiment them. It's almost like an administrative gourd or administrative cycle. And they have three over here, three over here, three over there. And they are administrating them and organizing them and regulating them. And they usually do them in systems so they can keep up with their system. And once one drop, that particular regime, they all drop because they go into the new system and the new supply. So the reason the narcissists go after the young people is because they have energy. They are dreams. They are very impressionable and they will believe easy. The narcissists tell them they believe it. They don't need proof. They feel, and their feelings begin to govern their life. And because of feelings, they make decisions, not thinking feelings is the least thing you should depend on because they can change in a second. But they depend on their feelings with the narcissist. And the narcissists know that they are inexperienced in different arenas, so they expose them. And when they expose them to new things, to stretch them the way the narcissists want them to stretch. And the whole time the narcissist is not stretching them because they care about them. They're stretching them so they can get them deeper hooked on them, deeper addicted to them, deeper dependent on them. And that's why in the love bombing stage, it's the training center. You are trained. Your mind is trained. It takes 21 days to make a habit. Usually, it may take the narcissist about 3 to 6 months to bring that specimen in and to lock them down. And he lock them down 3 to 6 months. And I've ministered to people that's been with a narcissist for 6 months, 8 months, and it's taken them years to get over it. Well, we know that God is not limited. He's awesome in his display of power. He's awesome in his strategy. He's awesome in his might. But when you have allowed things in your heart, the process of deleting that and the process of being healed from that, it still take place because you have to learn what it is that got you hooked in the first place so you can avoid that, because some people go from narcissist to narcissist to narcissist to narcissist, so they go from hurt to more hurt to greater hurt, and then some of them even get hoovered back in. You know, if a narcissist hoover you back in, the torture is greater, because whether they discarded you and or you escape, you discarded the narcissist. It's never the same. You discarded the narcissist, be ready for torment. If the narcissist discarded you and hoover you back in, they will go after you. But not even the love bombing would be like it was at first. It's different if you go back. Because remember, you have caused a lot of times a narcissistic injury and you don't know it, or they saw imperfection. And if you did everything right, the narcissist just get tired. You know, if you are eating steak every day, steak is good, but not every day. Because if you eat a steak every day, after a while you're going to get tired of the steak. Why? Because it's common. You get used to it. You used to love it because it was good, it was new. Now you're used to it. It is common. Anything get common. Familiarity breeds commonality. You treat it as common. You can take it for granted. And that's why the narcissist, doesn't matter how young they are, they get used to them. And when the narcissist get used to you, he has a system and it works every time unless you escape. And when you escape, you can't go back. That's one thing the HG tutor said. Once you know, go and don't come back. You are being hoovered. Don't play with hoovers. Because if you talk to them, they're going to get in. You keep communicating, they're going to get in. You got to remember the first time you talked to them. You didn't know you were falling. You didn't know you were being hooked. You didn't know it till you were there. And then you found it very difficult when you needed to leave. The young people are being devastated. Many of them go to drinking. Many of them go to drugs. And many of them get a hoover over and over and over again because they want the narcissist. They would take the pain. They don't want to do without the narcissist because the narcissist has become the young people's drug. They haven't matured emotionally. They haven't matured their will to stand. They haven't matured their will to resist. So they're very, very impressionable and vulnerable. Very vulnerable. And the narcissists, because they're so diabolical in their treatment, trash them emotionally. And they hurt so. Many people envy the new supply. Well, if you have a car and you drove that car for 8 months, it's not a new car anymore. It's like a regular car. Everything new that is constantly used eventually get old. And if you want something new, you have to leave what you have and get something you haven't had. Then it's new. That's the narcissist. They need new supply because they need the energy. And their mind is set to get what they want. So young supply is a lot of energy that the narcissists need. They need energy. The new supply is full of them, full of energy. The young supply, even greater energy. It's not the battleground. Their emotion is usually erratic. So when they hurt, they have a tendency to express themselves and pop off. Where the older person may be a little more thinking, considerate, concentrative, guiding their words, a little more tactful. But pain is pain. And usually the narcissist can take you to a place emotionally you didn't think you would go. Because sometimes you didn't know you could hurt that bad. You didn't know you could feel that bad. So when you see an older narcissist with a young person, we need to pray for them. Because many of them can't handle it. And the narcissists, a lot of time, they test that supply to see can they handle this much pain. Because they know they're going to cause it. They know they're going to create it. Because they know they need it. So they would test that new supply They were trained in new supply in pain. That's how you get your trauma bonding. The trauma bonding is there to keep you coming, to keep you wanting, to keep you fighting. And you'll start fighting for the attention of the narcissist, the presence of the narcissist. Well, just think of young people. A lot of places they haven't matured because they haven't experienced. So the older narcissists probably prefer, especially if they're semantic. I mean, everything's about looks. They probably prefer the younger over the older, less to deal with. And maybe they can handle that erraticness. When they're erratic, because if they going off and screaming and hollering, that's supply. He's not bothered by them screaming and hollering in pain. He wants them to holler and scream in pain because that's supply. And they are being good fuel for the narcissist. And so he purposely stir up the young because they've learned no control. And before you know it, years have went by and you wish you had left, but you didn't. You just have to make sure you're not still there. So why do the narcissists prefer the younger women or younger men? Easy management, greater supply. Because when they can't control their emotion, that's what the narcissists go after. Hope I've answered your question. And you have an awesome day. And if you know any young person that is in the hand of an older narcissist, prayer works amazingly. And they're going to need a lot of prayer. I'm Helen Sattler, your destiny helper. Have an awesome day.